finally have now seen the official schedule. It's no longer just the leaked one that we saw in the middle of the day yesterday, boys. So, as is tradition among many of the NFL analysts around NFL media, it is time to pick the schedule. Joe, you wrote about this and you did a written version of this over on Vikings on SI. Go read that. We'll certainly embed this video into that once we're done and posted this video. But we're going to go through these games week by week and pick these games and see where you come out for the final record for Minnesota. So let's jump into it. Let's start off with the season opener at Chicago, at Soldier Field on Monday Night Football. J.J. McCarthy versus Caleb Williams, Kevin O'Connell versus Ben Johnson. Will, I'll start with you. What do you have for this one?
Yeah, I think the Vikings start out with a win. It's going to be a juicy way to wrap up week one in the NFL, kick off the Vikings season. J.J. McCarthy is from LaGrange Park, Illinois, about 13 miles west of Soldier Field. He'll have lots of friends and family there. Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson's head coaching debut, a couple new look interior offensive lines. The Vikings have done a lot this offseason to try to stay where they were last year with a new quarterback and continue winning games. The Bears are trying to get to that level. I think the Vikings go in and win this game, but it should be a good one.
Joe?
Yeah, same thing. I think Ben Johnson kind of, has to get accustomed to coaching, being a head coach. We obviously know he has the ability to game plan, scheme in a way that's successful against Brian Flores' defense. But he's got different personnel now, and he's got a bit of a gunslinger at quarterback who's prone to mistakes, and Caleb Williams is still young. There's going to be a lot of anxiety and emotion around that week one game. I just think Minnesota's been there, done that, and I think the O'Connell factor and the experience with this team is, outside of J.J. McCarthy, but I think it's enough to get it done. McCarthy, you got to go back to the whole Aaron Rodgers thing to really get a sense of how the Vikings feel about him, right? So you don't pass on Aaron Rodgers for $10 million, if that's true about what he said on the Pat McAfee show. You don't pass on him for $10 million unless you really believe you have a quarterback who can take you to the promised land right now. So I don't think there's going to be an environment that's too big for J.J. McCarthy. He played in the big house, 100,000 fans, won a national championship. He's got great pieces around him. He's going to have every opportunity to succeed, and I think he flashes some big-time potential in week one. Vikings 1-0.
Clean sweep across the board here. I agree with you guys, 1-0. I like the Vikings getting the Bears on Monday Night Football at Soldier Field in the first game of the Ben Johnson era. I think there'll still be some growing pains learning his offense, and the Vikings will be able to take advantage of that. All right, week two, continuing the national game trend for Minnesota that is prevalent this season, hosting the Falcons for the home opener on Sunday Night Football. Joe, I'll start with you this time.
No contest. Michael Penix is going to have his life ruined in week two, and it's going to be an embarrassment. They don't have the personnel to match up with Minnesota in a home opener in prime time. Minnesota's going to go guns blazing in this one and rout the Falcons.
Will?
Yeah, I think Penix has some sneaky potential this year. I think he throws a really, really pretty ball. But I agree with Joe. This is going to be a tough spot. Raucous U.S. Bank Stadium environment, Brian Flores defense, Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave coming at him up the middle, Van Ginkel and Grenard off the edges, Isaiah Rodgers at cornerback. I think the Vikings win this game. We've talked. I mean, one of the obvious takeaway from the schedule as a whole is 7 national TV games, 4 primetime, 1 Christmas, 2 international. That's a lot of spotlight on J.J. McCarthy. It's not anything he isn't used to from playing at Michigan, playing in the college football playoff, playing Ohio State. A little different from playing against my Northwestern Wildcats on a rainy 11 a.m. Saturday, but he's done it all at the college football level. He's going to be ready for it.
Your little fake field, your little make believe field that you guys.
Yeah. We're getting a new one though.
Yeah.
Vikings 2-0, 2 primetime wins.
I like it. I think I'm with you guys. 2-0 for the Vikings here. I think Michael Penix will have enough coming on or getting some actual snaps last season after replacing Kirk Cousins that he'll be a little bit better than most guys getting their first starts as J.J. McCarthy will be. But I don't think the Falcons have enough to compete with what the Vikings have on the field this season. 2-0 for me. Sticking at home against the Bengals before a 2-game international road trip. Will, we'll start with you here. Vikings versus Bengals. Plenty of storylines with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow in this one. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm legitimately curious to see, like, is Trey Hendrickson playing in this game? What's going on with his contract situation? Because they need a guy like him in their defense. I'm going to assume that something gets worked out there and he plays, and I'm actually going to take the Bengals to win this game. Vikings will be at home.
What's wrong with you?
They're not going to go 8-0 at home.
Why not?
That's a
Because
stacked home schedule.
It's hard to win games against the teams on their home slate. And I think this will be a little bit of a Vikings are riding a high of 2 primetime wins. Joe Burrow comes in and JJ McCarthy realizes, you know what? I'm not at that level yet. Or people watching the game realize, all right, JJ McCarthy's not quite at that level yet. That's a been there, done that top 5 quarterback in the league. McCarthy might get there someday. Could even get there by the end of the season if everything goes perfectly. But I think Burrow comes in and plays a really good game. The Bengals win that one.
Well, I think it's got some shootout potential, but who's actually going to cover this guy named Justin Jefferson and this other guy named, well, Jordan Anderson might not be playing in week 3. We'll see. But
yeah, he might still be out.
Rondale Moore, and Ty Felton seems to be popping off in rookie minicamp with some big-time Twitch game to him. Who's going to cover these guys? Because I'm looking at the depth chart for the Bengals right now.
Cam Taylor-Britt.
He's okay, yeah. And then you're going to Dax Hill is going to shut the door? I mean, no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, secondary could be an issue
too.
To be clear, I think the Bengals can win like 34-31 in that game.
Yeah, the Bengals defense sucks, and they're not going to go into Minneapolis and win this game. There's just no chance. This is good. It has some high scoring potential, but Minnesota's going to win by double digits.
I don't like Byron Murphy against Jamar Chase.
I
like Byron Murphy a lot, but that's a physical matchup right there.
T. Higgins gave us some problems last year.
T. Higgins is like 8 feet taller than Mekhi Blackmon and Isaiah Rodgers, so
I'm not worried about it.
This one has. This will be
a recurring theme because I know what Joe's predictions are, and mine are not going to be quite the same. I see them in writing.
You're so negative. I mean, this team it's like it's a home game early in the season.
Spoiler: I am going to pick them to win more games than Vegas.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but it takes the Bengals like 2 months to get going. That's kind of their thing, right?
That's true.
So you get the Bengals in week 3. That's like a gift.
Jonathan, where are you going with this one?
This one has shootout potential written all over it. Bengals just outside of Trey Hendrickson, it doesn't feel like they have a whole lot of pieces on the defense to really cause problems. But you are still starting essentially a rookie quarterback in JJ McCarthy. Yeah, he had last season to get the offense and get the playbook under him, but he didn't practice because of the injury. He didn't play because of the injury. I still think there will be some growing pains. I think if this is a shootout against one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Joe Burrow, there might be some struggles in those late game moments. And I see that Bengals just eking this out 2-1, or I see this as a loss for the Vikings. All right. Now, the 2-game international road trip starting week 4 against the Steelers in Dublin, Ireland. Will, let's start off with you here.
Should we just do this? Let's just do this as one chunk. Yeah. Vikings aren't losing either of these games.
That's right.
They've never lost across the pond, 4-0. There was some exhibition games in the 80s and 90s that they went 4-0 in as well. So 8-0 if you include every football game they've technically played outside of the U.S. I like Joe's line. Again, go read his article. He said, a guy named O'Connell certainly isn't going to lose a game in Ireland.
That's right.
That's a banger. Vikings are winning in Dublin. Even Aaron Rodgers or whoever is playing quarterback for Pittsburgh, and then they're going to go in against Cleveland, who we have no idea who will be playing quarterback there. These are going to be pro-Vikings crowds, neutral site, but more pro-Vikings than Steelers or Browns, I would think. And they're gonna bounce back from that Cincy loss. They're going to be 4-1 heading into the bye.
And the Vikings will be acclimated to Europe. I mean, because they have a 288-mile flight from Dublin to London, whereas the Browns will be traveling after a game against Detroit, 3,000 miles. So good luck to Kenny Pickett or Shedeur Sanders. It's not going to be fun.
Which coaching staff in Ireland is putting back more Guinness? Is it the Vikings or the Steelers?
I think Tomlin's sneaky. He he might be able to put some back. That's a cool like Mike Tomlin, Brian
He was a little
Flores
sweaty at
thing.
the owners' meetings. That can be a symptom of
he
a little
was.
bit of alcohol. Been there. I was walking home from John's Auto Body in Richfield, dropped the car off because I'm not able to do my own oil changes yesterday. And I swear to God, I saw Kevin O'Connell driving down a residential street. I wonder what he was doing. Not far from the airport, not far from TCO. Could have been somebody else. I don't know.
All right.
I have the Vikings
Oops.
pulling off. I have the Vikings pulling off a pair of wins here internationally. As you said, they've been good overseas. It seems like the medical staff and their training staff know how to get their guys ready to play despite the time changes, despite all the body clock changes for them. And I just don't have a whole lot of faith in either of these two teams, despite no matter who the Steelers throw in at quarterback.
If there's one that I would be like, maybe it would be the Steelers in Ireland because it's Mike Tomlin. It's maybe Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers are always going to play you tough, no matter what under Tomlin. I don't think the Browns really have any chance in Game 2 with how good the Vikings have been in London, and how accustomed they will be to the time zone. The last couple of years, the Jaguars have played back-to-back London games, and they're 2-0 in Game 2, including a win over the Bills, which I think that legitimately matters a little bit.
We're also still talking about Aaron Rodgers as if he's a legitimately good quarterback. Like that might not still be there anymore.
He could be starting for the Vikings if it's true that they still have to see more from JJ McCarthy.
But even then, I'm not even sure he's that good of a quarterback. He's 41, hasn't looked that great over the past couple of seasons. Yeah, there was the injury 2 seasons ago, but
and they traded George Pickens.
Yeah,
they traded George Pickens, which leaves slim pickings outside of DK Metcalf for Aaron Rodgers or whoever to throw to. Look at that. This thing is on fire today.
All right. Bye week in week 6.
5-0, Joe, and we're both at 4-1.
Yep.
That's good stuff.
Yep. All right. So week 7 at home, returning after the bye, returning after a 2-game international road trip. And then they host the reigning defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Joe, what do you got here?
Well, unless Footlong Fold shows up and it's 8 years ago, I don't think the Eagles are going to beat the Vikings in Minneapolis when the Vikings are coming off of a bye. I love the Eagles. They're going to be awesome again. They're a juggernaut. This has crunch time potential to it, and it's one of those games where JJ McCarthy is going to have the opportunity to make a leap. Pull off a late game comeback or a scoring drive when it really, really needs to happen. I think they'll be primed and ready to go against the champs. 7-0, 6-0. I got them 6-0 now.
All right, Will.
I would love to pick the Vikings here. I'm not going to do it. It's the defending Super Bowl champs. I'm looking at the Eagles depth chart right now. This team is ridiculously good on both sides of the ball. Vikings are also extremely loaded on both sides of the ball, but Jalen Hurts, proven quarterback. Saquon Barkley can hit a home run any play. The receivers are good. The O-line is elite. The defensive line, I mean, they lost Milton Williams, but they go draft Jahad Campbell at 32. I think he could, or 31. I think he could be really good. The defense is really good. I'm going to take the Eagles here until I have a reason to pick otherwise, which I know is back-to-back losses for the Vikings at US Bank Stadium, but I'll get them some wins at home before we're done here.
Maybe not at this rate.
We're only 2. Well, I got them a Falcons win, so we got 5 left.
Yeah, I think I have the Eagles winning this one as well. Defending champions, they just are good up and down the roster. This is a tough one for me to see the Vikings winning, despite coming off the bye. They're still traveling back.
Coming off the bye gives them a shot for sure.
You guys ever heard of this thing called the Super Bowl hangover?
Didn't seem to bother the Chiefs the past couple of years.
Well, they have Jesus Christ at quarterback. That's not fair.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I think the Eagles will be good. Then it's a very quick turnaround for the Vikings on the road in Los Angeles against the Chargers on Thursday Night Football. Joe, what do you got?
That's the first loss. This reminds me of the back-to-back last season.
Oh, negative.
And the Rams. Well, I'm realistic. No, I'm realistic. See, just because I pick wins doesn't.
I had to give you that one.
I'm
just a fact-based man who happens to be right all the time. Warriors, Wolves in 5. What do I say? I mean, me and Jonathan pick everything right now. So, I'm a genius, and I just have to spit the truth. So this is a tough one. Short rest. The Chargers will be playing at home back to back. They have no travel. Jim Harbaugh probably knows how to get to JJ McCarthy a little bit. And again, like I said, it's similar to last season when they had to go Detroit short rest to the Rams. This time they have a tough game, and then they have to go short rest to the Chargers in LA. I think it's tough. It's just hard to win those games. They're fluky. They're weird. And I don't expect perfection. I expect elite football all season long from the Vikings, and this is one that I think they'll be tired and it'll be tough, and they'll lose their first game of the season.
Will?
It'll be tough. It's a short week, but SoFi is going to have a lot of Vikings fans there, and I think JJ McCarthy, the student, is going to best the master in Jim Harbaugh.
Ooh.
He's going to go in there. He's going to outplay Justin Herbert. The Vikings defense is going to pick off Herbert a couple times, and it'll be a team win on Thursday Night Football that will get the Vikings back headed in the right direction at 5-2.
I'll say this real quick. I think the last time the Vikings played Justin Herbert, he completed like 20 passes to Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
and I think he won at US Bank Stadium.
And Keenan Allen threw a touchdown pass in that game.
That was stupid. And I think that was a Kevin O'Connell rookie season game. So
it played a touchdown to Josh Palmer, bounced off of.
It's also a very different defense.
Can't think of the Caleb Evans. It bounced off of Caleb Evans' helmet.
Oh yes, things have changed.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the Chargers would be pretty good though.
So Will, what'd you pick here?
Vikings win.
Vikings win. All right. I have a Vikings win here as well. This will essentially, as you kind of hinted at, Will, this is essentially going to be a home game for the Vikings. We know Chargers fans, whether they show up or not, the Vikings fans will travel out to LA for this one to fill out SoFi Stadium. I have the Vikings.
You copying my picks, Jonathan?
I'm not trying to. It just kind of happens that way.
Seems like you are.
Well, you just said I'm right about everything.
Do you ever do your own thing? Do you ever just create your own path?
Says the lone soccer fan among the staff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now they got to go to Detroit in week 9.
Yeah. You get the mini bye. You get the mini bye effect, so now you're at Detroit in week 9. Will, what do you got?
I'm going to go loss there. I was at my first ever time at Ford Field was in week 18 last year. That huge game. That place was loud. That is the only stadium I've ever been to. I've only been to like 10 or 11 of the NFL stadiums that rivals US Bank Stadium in terms of noise. I think being the indoor thing helps keep the noise in. That place was crazy. The Lions are still going to be really, really good. Vikings, we'll see. I might have them winning the rematch later on in Minneapolis, but I think this is a tough spot for McCarthy. McCarthy going back to the state where he played his college football. It'll be a fun story. Mini bye, but I'm going Detroit in this one.
Joe?
Yeah, I'm taking the Lions at home. Even with the Vikings on extra rest, I just think there's going to be a point in the season where there's some hiccups, some learning curves, and tough matchups. And I do think Detroit's going to have some pressure on them. If you look at their schedule early in the season, it's really loaded up with some top-notch competition. So I think they might be in chase mode at that point where they're like, we got to win this game. Otherwise, we risk the potential of being swept by the Vikings in the regular season. So they're going to feel a lot of pressure to win this game, and I think they'll have enough juice to get it done.
Yeah, I think it's a clean sweep across the board with a loss here. Yeah, sure, the Vikings have the mini bye, but the Lions are also themselves coming off a bye, I believe, on this one. So they'll be two well-rested teams, but I think the Lions are just a little too good for the Vikings at this point in the season, especially with the rookie or the young quarterback in JJ McCarthy. All right, so week 10, the Vikings.
Wait a second. Time out here.
What'd I do?
Didn't you guys learn your lesson last year with Sam Darnold when you doubted everything and you're like, he can't win? And now you guys are putting that same pressure on JJ McCarthy, who everybody says is like more equipped to succeed at the NFL level than Sam Darnold. I don't understand this logic. Where's this come from? Why are there so many?
I am high on
almost
JJ
100 years of NFL history and young quarterbacks not succeeding right away.
Again,
Sam Darnold took his lumps.
Look at Jaden Daniels. All these young guys
take his lumps, guy.
They're
what happened to that guy?
In the NBA playoffs.
Oklahoma City got to take their lumps.
You got to take your lumps in the NBA playoffs, but quarterbacks now just jump right in and win. I mean, that's what they do in the NFL.
Jaden Daniels did it.
And he's not a
I don't know
rookie.
that
He
it's
had a
the
full
norm.
season. He was wearing his little goggles and learning in the
There's always
VR thing.
exceptions to the rule, Joe, and Jaden Daniels may be one of them.
I'm
Is
high
JJ
on
McCarthy? I
McCarthy
don't
with
know.
the O'Connell and factor in
Yeah.
the roster, and I got him 5-3 right now. That's pretty good start.
I'm not
It's
saying they're
extremely
getting.
disappointing.
I'm not saying they're getting blown out. These are going to be close games, but
You got 6-2. We're not that far off here through
yeah,
You
we're
guys
one
need to
game
take your
behind
lumps.
you.
9 weeks.
Simmer down. All right. Return home to face the Ravens. Will.
You know what? They're not going to lose 3 in a row at US Bank Stadium. This is going to be bounce back from the Lions loss, marquee win, biggest win, most impressive win of the season so far for the Minnesota Vikings. Even more impressive than that Chargers one, because this is Lamar Jackson, perennial MVP candidate. This is Derrick Henry. This is a good Ravens defense. Vikings are gonna win it at home. Andrew Van Ginkel will probably have a pick six off Lamar Jackson. And 6-3, big win.
Joe.
Somebody save that because if that happens, it's the greatest call of all time. Yeah, I think the Vikings win this one, but I actually think that the Ravens are good and they can do anything with Lamar Jackson. But you got to remember, Derrick Henry's getting a year older. DeAndre Hopkins I don't know if he has any steps left. So it's really all about, can Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman torch Minnesota's defense? And if they do, then they're going to be really hard to beat. I think the Vikings have enough talent on the defensive line and all over the defense to slow Derrick Henry. But Mark Andrews is older. We saw him kind of collapse late last season. What, didn't he have the drops and the problems in the playoffs as well? So they're a little bit older. They're not the youngest chickens out there. So again, there's the benefit of a lot of this Viking schedule is that these juggernaut teams they face are in Minneapolis, and that's a huge plus. So I'm taking the Vikings to win this one.
Man, I'm going to be the Debbie Downer here for once. I have the Ravens winning this one. I love Lamar Jackson. I think he's great. Yes, the roster's a little bit older, but I still think he is a menace to deal with. And I see the Ravens coming out with this one. So that means the Vikings stick at home once again. They face the Bears in Week 11. Will.
Yeah, I do think Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks in that Ravens game, that'll be a test for JJ McCarthy. Those are a couple playmakers along with Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey. I still have the Vikings winning that game though. Not changing that. Week 11, Bears come to Minneapolis. Ben Johnson, Chicago. I'm sorry, you're getting swept by the Minnesota Vikings and JJ McCarthy and Kevin O'Connell this year. That's going to be, every atmosphere at US Bank Stadium is rocking. But divisional opponent, Vikings win second straight game at home against the Bears.
Yeah,
Joe?
that's a sweep. That's a clean sweep. They're not coming in here and beating Minnesota. And if they do, we should all be on lookout for the next decade because Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams might be the real deal. I think the Bears will be better at that point in the season than they are in week 1. But again, you're in Minneapolis. You're not leaving with a victory.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you guys here. I have the Vikings bouncing back with a big win against the Bears. Then they travel out to Green Bay to take on the Packers in Week 12. Joe?
Well, you go to Lambeau Field November 23rd. There's potential for some wintry elements, but it's not late enough in the season, especially the way climate has been here in Minnesota of late, where it seems like winter starts later and it's a January, February thing, and November and December are just kind of chilly and cold, and you might get an occasional cold blast. It's probably too early to be dealing with any kind of extreme cold, which is good. And then I just don't really believe in the Packers. I know they have a decent roster, but unless Matthew Golden is the second coming of Devontae Adams and Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed can get loose, I'm not that scared of Jordan Love. And I really don't know who in that secondary is going to match up with Minnesota's receivers. Again, Minnesota has so much freaking talent, and they're going to be really difficult for every team to play against. Not only that, but Jordan Love has struggled against Brian Flores outside of like a 14-minute stretch where he got hot last year. So I really like Minnesota to go into Lambeau and win that game too.
Will?
I think it's tough to win in Lambeau. The Vikings have done it a few times in recent years, but I'm gonna lean on the Packers here. I think the golden pick was a good one. They've been long overdue to take a receiver in the first round. Golden can play. I was really impressed by him at Texas. It's still like a receiving core that has a bunch of like number twos and maybe not a true number one unless Golden is really, really good right away. But Reed, Golden, Dobbs, Melton, Watson, all these different guys, they give you a lot of options if you're Jordan Love, and the tight ends too. I'm going to take the Packers and win that one.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Joe on this one. I have a tough time believing in what the Packers do looking at the roster. And I see the Vikings rattling off another win here and a bit of a winning streak for them. Then they go out to Seattle, taking on former Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold, who will get his first chance in game time to play against this Brian Flores Vikings defense. Joe, what do you got for Vikings Seahawks Week 13?
Well, if anybody knows every weakness that Sam Darnold has, it's Minnesota's defense and Brian Flores. And I think we all learned last year that the 12th man effect is a thing of the past in Seattle. Vikings go into Seahawks land and leave with a victory.
Well,
yeah, I think the Vikings win in Seattle second straight year. If it's presumably going to be Darnold, I think the inside scoop, Flores O'Connell will know what will fluster him. Non-zero chance, by the way, that Darnold without O'Connell isn't the same guy, and this is maybe like the Jalen Milroe experiment by this point. I don't think that'll happen.
Wow.
I think it'll be Darnold. I don't think he's like getting benched year one. I'm just saying it's not
so quick to lose faith.
I think the Vikings go win this game in Seattle, and I think that means I have them at 8-4.
Yep.
Through 13, which is a little more optimistic than I thought I would be. So here we go.
Look at you go.
Yeah, Joe's at 10-2. Will, you're at 8-4. I have the Vikings winning this one, knowing all of Sam Darnold's weaknesses, being able to get pressure on him, and doing a good job of shutting down whatever the Seahawks try and throw at them. I have the Vikings at 8-4 as well, coming off this win. I have them getting another win the following week against the Commanders, returning home to face and host Jaden Daniels, the electric Commanders quarterback. I think Brian Flores will have enough in his bag to slow him down. And the Jonathan Allen revenge game. I've got that big on this one.
Nice.
9-4 for the Vikings with a win here. Will, what do you got for Vikings Commanders Week 14?
This is tough. The Commanders are really, really good. Jaden Daniels is awesome. Dan Quinn's a good coach. The roster is good. But give me the Vikings at home. I don't know. This is going to be a big one.
Sophomore slump is real.
I mean, he might have some ups and downs in year two, although they do now have Deebo Samuel, which should help. But give me the Vikings in a close one at home against Washington in what could be it will be two playoff teams for sure. I think
for sure. Joe.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty worried about this, and I hate to do it, but I think Dan Quinn is a great coach. And I think Jaden Daniels is the truth. So I'm gonna take Washington to come into Minneapolis and kind of stun the Vikings. I think it'll be really close, but I think Dan Quinn's going to have some answers with what I think is a really good defense, and then what should be an elite offense. I think potential NFC title game preview here. I think Washington's that good. I think that the Commanders actually win the East. I really like them to come in here. I think it's a really tough matchup for Minnesota, and Jaden Daniels is going to be a little too much and a little bit better than J.J. McCarthy on this day. So I'll take one home loss.
Wow. We're about the rare time where Will and I choose a Vikings win, and Joe's the negative Nancy of us.
Yeah, well, I'm very tempted to go undefeated, but I got to give myself a little bit of reality.
Clearly, the former host of the radio show you used to produce had an effect on you at some point. All right, Vikings then go on the road. Sunday Night Football in Dallas. Of course, it's Dallas Cowboys game, so it's got to be on national TV. Joe, what do you got here? Vikings Cowboys Week 15.
Yeah, they're not going to lose two in a row. They're going to go into Jerry World and take down the Cowboys. I mean, you should be scared of that offense in Dallas, but with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens now. But I don't trust Dak Prescott. His ankle or shoulder will be broken by this time of the season, and Cooper Rush is not going to get another win over Minnesota. So I like Minnesota to go into Dallas on that turf and, the primetime spotlight and take care of business. They're just too good to lose two games in a row.
Well,
Yeah, I got Dallas winning this game. I had the Vikings winning their first 3 primetime of games of the year. Chicago, Atlanta, Chargers. Going 4-0 would be really impressive. I am a Dak Prescott believer. I think he's better than people give him credit for. I think like there's a really bright spotlight playing for the Cowboys, and he gets, every little bad game or misstep is going to be heavily criticized. I think that dude's really good. He obviously has to be healthy for this game, but I think George Pickens is going to be a great fit in that offense as like an upgraded version of who Michael Gallup was for Dak on the outside, where he can just run those deep vertical routes on the outside and go up and make contested catches and really complement CD Lamb well, because Lamb's just so unguardable out of the slot. And then I like that they drafted Tyler Booker, trenches to fortify their line. They have 3 offensive linemen named Tyler out of their first 5, which I just think the vibes of that are going to be too much for the Vikings to overcome. The Tyler renaissance. So I got the Cowboys winning this game in prime time. I think it'll be a close one, but I'm gonna give Vikings a loss there.
It's late enough in the season for me where I think Dak Prescott might not be playing due to injury. I mean,
There you go.
unless he somehow finds a way to get rid of his injury bug. This is also Kevin O'Connell going up against Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator now for the Dallas Cowboys. I think there's an advantage there for Minnesota and the Vikings offense. I have the Vikings taking a win on Sunday Night Football before they travel up to New York for a rematch of last year's season opener against the Giants. Will, what do you got here?
Yeah, this is another quarterback room that like just spin the wheel and guess who's going to be starting. Russ, Jackson Dart, Jameis Winston, maybe Tommy Cutlets even. Probably not, but
you know how they always say if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. What happens if you have 4 quarterbacks?
Yeah,
yeah. You're in the hole.
Looking at Cleveland and the Giants specifically, and yeah, the Vikings they win this game easy.
Joe?
Yeah, there's no contest here. This is the second year in a row they go to New York and whip the G-men.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. This one's an easy win, an easy late season win for the Giants, who are clearly in tank mode, trying to get Archie Manning or whatever quarterback is going to be coming out as the number 1 prospect. They might have an interim head coach at that point in the season with how bad this season's going. Then we get to Christmas Day, the Vikings hosting the Lions on Netflix for the whole world to see alongside their families. Week 17. Will, what do you got here?
Man. So what am I at 10-5 right now?
You are at 10-5. I'm at 11-4. Joe's at 12-3.
I said coming in, I was thinking I'm going to be 10-7 or 11-6, but I don't know. I'm giving the Vikings a win here. They had the opportunity last year in Detroit, huge late season game, so much on the line. They didn't show up. And you know what? That was a factor in the reason why Sam Darnold is not the quarterback of this team anymore, because he missed so many open guys in that game. The Rams game was Darnold and the offensive line, which was horrible. The Lions game was Sam Darnold. He just was completely inaccurate, wilted in the moment. And J.J. McCarthy's not going to do that in this moment, which helps to be at home at US Bank Stadium. Vikings are not getting swept by the Detroit Lions. They're going to pick up a huge win for seeding and playoff implications and maybe division race, all those things. And they're going to move to 11-5, heading into another huge game the following week. But I'll let you guys talk about this one first.
Yeah, I don't think this is set up nicely for Minnesota. I think they're going to be their 10th or 11th consecutive week with a game. You're playing on short rest. Fortunately, you're at home, but against a team that bites your kneecaps and likes to target them. This is tough. I mean, health is going to be paramount at this point in the season. If Minnesota is healthy at home, I like them because I don't think the Lions are going to sweep them, and I don't think the Lions are quite as good this year as they were last year, and the Vikings are better this year than they were last year. So I will take the Vikings to win this one, but it's got all the makings as the most difficult game of the season.
Oh, yeah. I think this one is most likely a battle for the NFC North, still being decided at that point in the season. Late season toss-up between these two teams. I think having the experience of the rest of the season behind him for J.J. McCarthy will do him wonders in a massive moment like this. And for the first time in 5-6 tries, Kevin O'Connell gets the win over Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions to move them to 12-4, heading into the final week of the season, hosting the Packers at US Bank Stadium to close out the regular season. Joe, what's your prediction here?
Oh, that's a win. Packers aren't coming here to win. The only way the Packers win that game is if they're fighting for their playoff lives and Minnesota is resting starters, which is possible. I think the Green Bay Packers will be fighting for a wild card spot at that point, and I think Minnesota will legit be in the conversation for the number 1 seed. If they have something to play for, Minnesota's the better team, and they're at home, and they're going to win that game. So give me the Vikings 14-3 and the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Will, you have the Vikings coming to this one 11-5. Are they going to be 11-6 or 12-5?
12-5. They're not getting swept by Green Bay either. They're winning this game. Packers are good. Vikings have a better top to bottom roster. I think it's not unrealistic to think that J.J. McCarthy could get to Jordan Love's level pretty quickly, where Love's probably considered in that 8 to 10 range among quarterbacks, largely off what he did in 23 second half, more than even 24. But I don't think it's crazy to think McCarthy can get there pretty quick with Kevin O'Connell, with everything around him on the roster, with the way that the Vikings have raved about the progress that he made last year from rookie minicamp through training camp when he got hurt, all the behind the scenes mental reps and work and just how confident he seems to be and how confident his team seems to be in him. I'm going 12-5. I don't know if that'll be enough for the division. I don't know what seed exactly that'll be, but 12-5, they're going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I have the Vikings winning here, getting the sweep over the Packers on the season and securing Kevin O'Connell's third 13-plus win season of his young Vikings coaching career. So when looking back at the roster, the results, and your guys' records, Joe, you have 14-3. I have 13-4. Will, you have 12-5. So looking back, Will, I'll start with you. Why is your pick for 12-5 not crazy?
Because of what I just said about J.J. McCarthy and the belief that I have in him that I don't think is crazy homer optimism. I really don't. I think Kevin O'Connell has earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to being a quarterback whisperer and a quarterback coach and a leader of men generally. I think O'Connell and Brian Flores, they are in the top 3 at least of offense and defense coach duo in the NFL, with like Andy Reid and Spags, and there's a couple other duos probably in that conversation as well. But they are really, really good. The roster is really, really good. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah went out and addressed the trenches this offseason, which is what he needed to do. I still think they should maybe sign another cornerback before we get going here, but that's a different discussion. I think this is a really good roster that just needs J.J. McCarthy to be B+, A- level, which means playing really well. He doesn't have to be an A+ though, and I think that he can get to that level and play well enough for this team to win a lot of football games. Maybe not 13 or 14, but I got him at 12-5. And I think what we're all saying here is that the 8.5 from Vegas feels a little low. Not gambling advice, but that feels low again. It feels like they didn't fully learn their lesson from last year, even if it's a different quarterback now.
All right, Joe, you have them at 14-3, which to many probably feels a little bit crazy. Convince the outside world that 14-3 is not crazy.
You guys thought I was crazy last year when I said they go 12-5. I mean, if the meteorologist accurately predicts the weather, do you trust him the next time he predicts the weather? You should give him the benefit of the doubt, or her the benefit of the doubt, until they prove you wrong. So, I mean, I've been right about everything, literally everything. So I don't know what there is to doubt. I mean, like I said in the article on Vikings on SI.
Nostradamus over here.
That's right, Jostradamus. I'm telling you,
I like it.
on the back of my softball jersey it says Joseph, which is very sacrilegious, but it does. 3 for 4, 3 doubles with a homer last night. Thanks.
Oh
wow! Look at this guy.
Popped out to the catcher to end one of the games, so it's sad.
Well, there's always that.
But anyway, I'm right about everything, so don't doubt me. I'm just a freaking genius, and I Can't help it. I got something. I'm connected to the third eye. It's open. I've decalcified the pineal gland. I see things really clearly right now. So you should trust what I'm telling you. I'll make new predictions come, September, just before the regular season, as we all will, once we have a better understanding of health and new additions like Asante Samuel Jr. or anybody else the Vikings might add. So, they're only going to get better as long as they stay healthy. And that's a terrifying thing for the rest of the NFL.
I like it. Go read all their work over on Vikings on SI, as well as Timberwolves, Gophers, and Twins on SI. Got plenty to cover over there, especially with the Timberwolves going to the Western Conference Finals. We'll save those predictions till after we know who wins the other Western Conference series between the Thunder and the Nuggets. That game tonight, I believe. So we'll figure out potentially if it's the Thunder or if we have to, or if they have to go through a game 7. Hopefully another game 7 and the Wolves get some more rest heading into that Western Conference Finals. Looking forward to all that. Hit subscribe to the YouTube channel. It does help us get found. Notifies you every time we post a new video. We'll talk to you tomorrow with another topic across Minnesota sports. Talk to you later.